Hello, welcome back to my Factorio playthrough series. I'm Dan and I'm an average gamer. In the last episode I got myself all set up with this little base on this new planet that we've just crash landed on, and in between the last episode and this episode I've done a little bit of tidying up. I've put down some more mining drills. I've cleared the trees so I know where my smelting arrays are going to go. I've put down this radar which is scanning the map, and you can see new areas are appearing on the map up there. But the radar lets us do something else as well. It means that when we zoom in on the map, when we zoom in far enough, we can actually see what we're doing on a map view. We can have a detailed map view, and later on when we get robots in the game, we can actually use the robots to place things on the map while we're somewhere else. So that's what the radar does. I've cleared out all the old burner mining drills and all the old stone furnaces because we're going to be using this smelting array at the top. And I've also, if I can show you, does the map view stretch that far? It doesn't quite. I've added 2 more boilers and steam engines down here. So what I need to do is put another radar down over there so it is covered by map view. So let's go into the combat section here. We need to get some plates. Just press F while you're walking along the belt and that'll pick up the plates. And now we can make another radar. And the purpose or the goal for today's gaming is to get a little manufacturing area set up, because as you've already seen, we're using a lot of belts, a lot of inserters, a lot of splitters and undergrounds and things like that, and it would be useful to have machines making all that for us instead of us having to make it ourselves. So now that I've put that radar down there, you go into the map view, you can see this light colored area. This is where the radar covers. It's going to start scanning areas further out than this, sort of along this area. A lot of this is already covered by my local sort of internal radar, but it does mean that when I zoom in on here on map view, I can see all those boilers and steam engines. Let's pick up some belts and we'll put these sort of together. I'm winging this to some extent. I've got a vague idea in my head about what I want to achieve, but I don't really know at the moment how I'm going to go about achieving it, or whether what I'm going to put down, build, is going to be correct first time. I might end up having to tear things down and rebuild them. So let's just make some more belts for now. So a lot of the things that we're making, we have a look, that uses iron plates and iron gear wheels. That uses iron plates and transport belts, so we need those to make those. That uses iron plates, electronic circuits and transport belts. And that uses iron plates, iron gear wheels and electronic circuits. So everything uses the same sort of 3 or 4 ingredients. So we need to make gear wheels, electronic circuits, and the electronic circuits are made out of plates and copper cable is made out of copper plates. So the first things we need to start making along here, let's have a couple of, right, so we need to pick up some plates so we can even just make some assembly machines. So let's just do that. Make 4 of those. I'm going to do this. So there's a belt there with gears on them, which means we need to put this machine down here. In fact, we can just do this with normal inserters. We'll have this inserter, and pressing Alt shows not only does it show what the machine is making, but it shows which direction the inserter is working. If I turn Alt mode off, and I've got this, it doesn't show where the inserter is going. It shows it when it's in your hand, but it doesn't show it once it's on the ground. If you press Alt mode, it does show it when it's on the ground as well. Choose a recipe for assembling gears. And we need to give it some power. Oh. So we need to run these power cables up the side here. We'll need these eventually when we finish building our smelting array. So that is a machine building, making cogs. Now I think we might end up needing more than one of these machines. And so we need to make a long-handed inserter. We need another inserter. So we basically just still need more stuff from here. Let's just make 5 long-handed inserters. And we'll make all those other inserters. We're going to need lots more inserters as well. Now, if you copy this recipe, you can shift right click to copy and then shift left click to paste. So that then makes this another gear assembly machine. Let's just put that there. So the idea is, well, wait for these inserters. So that's going to output onto this belt, but it's going to input from, let's just take my inserters and put them down here so I can get them easily. We'll use this long-handed inserter that then skips over this first belt and picks up the plates from this second belt here. So we've now got 2 machines making gears. I'm going to leave a little bit of a space so that I can put down a third machine there if I need to later on. In a similar way, we're going to have this belt for now, can I be clever and get the electronic circuits onto this belt here? Yeah, let's try that. Let's take this up already. To make electronic circuits, we need, I think it is, I can never remember if it's two copper wire machines feeding 3 assemblers or 3 copper wire machines feeding 2 assemblers. It needs 3 copper cable. It needs 1.5 copper plate. So we need 3 copper assembly machines. Let's start making some more of those. We don't have enough iron plates. In fact, I'm going to be a little bit, I've just worked out in my head which way around I'm going to do this. So we'll have 3 of those machines, copy paste, assemblers into all of those. Those come out there. We have 2 machines here making the electronic circuits. Copy paste that. Pick up some power cables, power poles. Now, what I'm going to do is we'll have these coming out and going down in this direction to get them onto this belt. Oop, not there. This needs iron plate as well. Ha ha ha. Okay, I forgot about that. So we've got long-handed inserters picking up the iron plates up here, feeding it into these machines. We've got the short inserters outputting the green circuits, which then come under here and under there, and then they go onto the other side of this belt here. Because these already come out onto that side of the belt, I can then have that there, that there, and then let's have another, for the sake of argument, let's just have a third machine. So now we can start. Now we've got a lot of the basic, all the ingredients on this little mini bus here. We'll start making an actual sort of mini assembling area. So first things first, the easy one is going to be transport belts. Okay, so that is going to need we need lots more long-handed inserters. So this transport belt needs gears and plates. So we'll have a long-handed inserter there, that's picking up the plates. We'll have a short inserter there. Now this can output. Now we're going to need these later on to make other things. So I'm going to output those onto a belt. So we'll have another machine up here making underground belts, and it's going to read in from transport belts and iron plates, and it's going to need power. Now that can output let's make some iron chests as well. So one of these goes out onto the belt, the next one goes into the chest, the next one goes onto the belt, the next one goes into the chest. And you can pick up this X, you can click on that and drag it, and then that will limit the slots in the chest, so that when this gets to, we're going to need lots and lots of iron belts. Let's just, the transport belt, so let's limit that to 5. We don't need so many undergrounds, let's just limit that to 2 slots in there. So basically when that chest gets full, this is going to stop outputting onto there, but it will still output onto the belt if it needs to. So the next thing we're going to make, leave a little bit of space there, is splitters. And that takes iron plates, electronic circuits, and transport belts. So we'll get the transport belts from there. We'll get the iron plates from there, and we'll get the electronic circuits from there. And again, we'll output these into a chest, and we'll limit that again to 2 slots. So now if I want any more belts, I don't need to make them myself. I can just pick them up out of this chest. Right, so we need to make inserters. They need iron plate, gear wheel, and electronic circuits. Now, this one inserter will pick up the electronic circuits, and then when it's got enough of those, it will pick up the iron plates, the gear wheels, which may be a little bit slow, but it'll be all right for now, I think. We'll limit that to 2 stacks as well. This doesn't need to be fast, it just needs to work. So what else do we need? So we've got belts, underground splitters, inserters. We'll make some long-handed inserters as well. Now that needs inserters, so we can just have this inserter there, just feeding from that straight into there. Out of belts, let's go and get some out of the box. So this needs plates and gear wheels, so we'll have that one. That goes out of the box as well. That one picking up the gear wheels, and that one picking up the plates. They need power. And we'll output those into the box as well, and we'll limit that to 2 stacks. Now, we'll have a machine making, we can have a machine making assembly machines, why not? And I'll have another one making mining drills because we use those in quite large quantities. So assembly machines, again, plates, gear wheels, electronic circuits, all the same as what we've had before. Oop. And ironically, just as I'm about to build a machine that builds assembly machines, I'm out of assembly machines. So I need to make one manually. I need to just pick up some electronic circuits. Make one of those. Set the recipe, assembly machine 1, plates, gears, electronic circuits. I'll have that outputted over there. It doesn't have to be neat and tidy. Now, what's happened to our plates? We're getting a few plates coming out here, but they're all getting used up. So we need to increase our smelting about it. So now we've got we have got a full belt of iron plates coming out here. So now we've got full plate quota over there. So that is plates, gears, and circuits again. So is there anything else that we need to make on our maul? We could do, I don't know if we need pipes just yet. We're certainly going to be using a lot of these. Mining drills, assembly machines, steam engines and boilers we can make as and when we need them. Copper cable is only ever used for electronic circuits, so there's no point having that on the bus. So we're going to let's now start making automation science packs in quantity. So this is like our little mini mall, and that's going to give us all the equipment that we need to start building the rest of the factory. So now let's start building the rest of the factory. That is all still covered by the radar, so that's all good. The radar has sort of expanded into a lot of area. It's shown us that there's some more coal out on this side. This radar hasn't shown us that there's some more copper out there. 10 million, that's quite a decent patch. We don't use so much copper at the moment, but we will be using it later on. So the idea behind the basic sort of factory design, or the way that I'm going to build it, there are other ways, is that I'm going to have this as being the start of what we call the bus. Now, I know that when we get later on down the line, we're going to need a lot more green circuits than just on half a belt. So we're eventually, this green circuit, these electronic circuit assemblers down here are just going to be basically for this little section here. And if we need more electronic circuits further on down the line, I'll build a bigger electronic circuit manufacturing area. So for now, the idea is that you build your factories on one side of the belt so that you can, they're on one side of the bus, so that you can expand the bus out into other, on the other side without getting in the way of any factories you've already built. And eventually, we've only got one smelting line, smelting array each for copper and iron, but I think because I've played this game before, you're going to need sort of 4 each, which means cutting down a lot more trees, setting up some new mining areas, because I don't think this mining, this ore patch is going to be enough to satisfy 4 columns. We're going to need a lot more stone. So the idea is that we will have 4 lanes of iron and 4 lanes of copper, and a proper mall, because this is just a temporary setup just to get us started. So a proper mall off to the side, which is building this and everything else that we will need later on once we've researched other items and unlocked them. So this is still just a sort of temporary bootstrap kind of get yourself started sort of setup, and a lot of this may get torn down and rebuilt as a more permanent thing later on. So for now, we'll start looking at making some automation science packs. Now that takes 1 copper plate and 1 iron gear wheel. Now the copper plate, what we're going to have to do to get the copper plate out is to, if we put that belt going under the ground, and we put a long-handed inserter over here, that will then pick up the copper plate from back there. Now this takes, if we have a look over here, it takes 5 seconds to make 1, which is only, what, 12 a minute? If we want, well, if we want basically 1 per second, we're going to need 5 of these machines, aren't we? So 1, 2, now let's, do I want to have them coming up down this side in this direction here? If I want to have these machines coming off down here, I'm basically going to have to filter off the ingredients that we need into spurs that come down here. So we'll have a splitter, and we can filter this splitter to just do the gear wheels. And they can go off down there. on, straight line. Split it, prioritize it in the right direction. That would help. We also need copper plates. So the way we do this is we have split this out using an underground. And that one. And then we can have the copper plates coming out. Now, these still go through the undergrounds and carry on up there, so the bus still carries on as it did before, but we're now splitting out the items that we need. So I can now, along this side, we'll move them back a little bit. So we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Copy paste. You to pick up the item on the ground. And we're going to need a long-handed inserter into each one. And a normal inserter into each one. And some power poles. And then we'll have an inserter coming out and a belt going that way. Okay, so now we're getting quite a bit of automation science packs being made. So what we can now do is we'll have a set of science labs. Now we've still got one down here, which we'll pick up again. So the way we can set this up with the science labs is that you can have an array of labs and a set of belts. Now the way I usually like to do it is you can have the belts coming in, because there are basically 6 main types of science pack. We haven't unlocked them all, but there's if we have a look at the research tree, there's automation science, logistics science, chemical science, military science, that's 4. Production science and utility science, that's 6. And then later on, once we get to launching rockets, there's space science. But by the time we get to doing that, then we'll redesign things a little bit. So the way I usually do it is that I have 3 belts coming in, each with, like we split the items for the smelters with the coal on one side and then the ore on the other down here. So I'll have the belts with 2 different science packs on it, one on each lane. So we're going to have red and green on one lane, and then grey and blue and the next one, and then yellow and purple on the last one. And we'll have an inserter and then an underground, which then goes and takes And then we'll have 3 more inserters and another lab there. The red science will come in along here, and it will also get split to go into there. Then I'll have the same setup over here. I mean, there are lots of different ways of setting up these science labs. You can actually set up the labs sort of in a row and just have them feeding into the next one. And then that's fine, but, you know, I like to do it this way just because. It does mean that so the science packs go along these underground belts under here. So underneath here is all still full of science packs. And you can still see the belts, see them on the belts there. So it does have a lot of science packs kind of sitting on belts, but it does mean that whenever a lab needs a science pack, it can just pick it straight off the belt and it's just right there. Then we'll do all the others. So I've still got 2 labs left. Got plenty. And we may find that we might need more of these labs. In fact, if we press P to look at production, I think the production statistics is there on the there's a keyboard, there's a button for it as well. And we have a look at what we are producing over a 10-minute period. We're producing, well, over a 1-minute period, we're producing 30 a minute. Which isn't really enough. I'd like to produce 60 a minute. So what we will do is basically just put down five more of these machines. If we have a look back at the technology tree, military 2 gives us grenades, and grenades will let us clear the forest a lot quicker. So we'll start the research for that, but that needs green and this logistic science. So we need to work out how to make logistic science. We're not bothered about weapon shooting speed because we're not using the weapons. We'll have fast inserters. They're very useful. We'll have heavy armor because the armor gives us more benefits other than just in a military style, military fashion. Steel axe, that lets us chop things down quicker. Everything else we need the logistic science for. So we'll work out how to make logistic science. Logistics requires 1 transport belt and 1 inserter. Now we're already making transport belts and inserters down here, but I think it would be best if the machines that we use for those are just used for them all, and then I don't want to sort of repurpose machines for too many different activities because then the materials get thinned out quite quickly. And as you can see, the gear wheels are might be running a little bit thin on the ground, and this is only because we're really I've just picked up a lot of stuff out of here, so we're using a lot of gear wheels just to top all this lot up. Once all these are full again, all the gear wheels will start going into here. But ultimately, with this sort of thing, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have another machine up here somewhere making more gear wheels and feeding them onto here just to make sure that these science assemblers have got all the ingredients that they need. So that needs transport belts and inserters. We'll have one machine making transport belts. And one machine making inserters. So that needs iron gear wheel, iron plate, electronic circuits. So that is why is that not letting any gear wheels go further up? I mean, it's not the end of the world if we filter if we have the electronic circuits going down here. It's only a few circuits that are just going to end up sitting there never used. So this one we need plates on it, don't we? So in fact, let's do this slightly differently. If I have this one outputting there, if I have that one outputting there, that will go effectively onto the near side of the belt, and this one can go onto the far side of the belt. So if I put that onto there, that will then feed onto this side of the belt, and then they will get split. So each of these belts will be feeding both red and green science, or logistics and automation science if you're colorblind. So let's have a look at the production statistics and see how many of these. Again, we're just making 30 a minute of those. So we need twice as many of these machines. So let's start doing some more research that uses all these automation science packs up. So we need military 2 because that gives us grenades. Automation 2 because that gives us faster assemblers. Landfill, it's always useful to fill in a lake or something, or if you need to run a railway line across a lake, you can do a bit of landfill underneath it. Steel furnaces lets you smelt stuff faster. Circuit network, that's useful for, might not use that so much later on, but it might give us some things we can need. Yeah, it certainly gives us the red and green wires, we're going to use those. Engines are useful for later later production. We need engines to go into, well, into railways and into chemical science. And tool belt, that increases, expands your inventory so you can carry more stuff. So we now have a little manufacturing area set up, so we don't have to handcraft a lot of this stuff. We can, if we want any more things, we can just pick them up out of the boxes here. And we're automatically producing our science packs and doing some research. So I think that is a good place to leave it for now. Let's just have another little quick look at the map. We can see that there's some oil coming up there. The radar has revealed that to us. There's some more iron down there. So yeah, Got myself onto a belt. I'm moving along there. Look. So yeah, we're in a good position.